welcome to part 2 of my slash chords demonstration. Today I wanted to just talk about inverting minor chords. So if you see a slash chord like this in your fake book or in your music, D minor slash F. So we think D minor, F needs to be at the bottom because whatever's to the right of the slash, that will become the bottom note of the chord. So I am going to invert this once, bring the bottom note up to the top, and we've got a D minor chord with F at the bottom. That would be a first inversion. Okay, let's try A minor. So A minor has A, C, E. We want to have E at the bottom, so I'm going to invert it once by bringing the bottom note to the top. And I'm going to invert it once more by bringing the bottom note to the top again. And now we've got an A minor slash E chord, an A minor with an E at the bottom. Okay, second line here, we've got an F sharp minor. And we want an A at the bottom. So I'm going to bring the bottom note to the top. And we've got an F sharp minor first inversion, which is the same as saying an F sharp minor chord with A at the bottom. And let's do one more. Let's do G minor. And we want a D at the bottom. So I'm going to invert it by bringing the bottom note to the top. And then once again, the bottom note to the top again. And now we've got a D at the bottom, but it's a G minor chord with a D at the bottom, or the second inversion of a G minor chord. And we learned in part 1 that sometimes slash chords include notes that are not in the triad to the right of the slash. So for example, a D minor chord doesn't have a C in it, but we can add one at the bottom. So here's a D minor chord, and I'm just going to put a C at the bottom. Let's just switch my fingering around a little bit so I can play all 4 notes. You've probably heard this chord progression at times. So sometimes there are notes that are not in the chord that are in a slash chord. Okay, now how about this one? This one's a little confusing. We've got a D minor, and we want an E at the bottom, but E would be kind of in the middle there. So what we're going to have to do is invert this by bringing the D to the top, and now I'm going to add the E to the bottom. And sometimes you might just not play this D. You might just say, oh, I'm going to simplify the chord. Sounds a little discordant, but this type of chord definitely appears in some pieces and songs. So you can see what you like better. You want to bring the D to the top and play all 4 notes, or you might like a little simplified version. I also wanted to talk about why do we use slash chords. There's usually 2 main answers. And why we use them falls usually into one category or the other. One is for ease on the keyboard of not having to jump around. So if we had to play from a C chord to an F, to a C, to a G, to a C, that entails a lot of jumping around. It can sound a little choppy. And it can also be a little difficult to play. And if you've got a kind of a complicated right hand going on, you might not want to do all this jumping around. So if we use slash chords, we can make it much simpler. So you can see here I've got a C chord going to an F, but it's an F slash C. So F slash C, I can just put that C on the bottom. And if I have that second inversion of F, you can see it. F goes to the top, and then A goes to the top. It's a second inversion of the F chord. If I go from the C to the second inversion of the F chord, they share a common tone, and that is C. And if you have that common tone on the bottom, then it's so much easier to play it this way with the inversion, with the slash chord, than it is jumping. just kind of keep that C anchored on the bottom. All right, now when we go from the C to the G chord, instead of going from C to a G, up or down, we're going to do a slash chord, a G/B, meaning it's a G triad with B at the bottom. So I'm going to invert it once, bring the bottom to the top. Now if we go from the C in root position to the G over B, then we've got a common tone at the top. So from C to F, the common tone C is at the bottom, and from C to G over B, the common tone's at the top. So that is one reason we might use slash chords, is for ease of getting around on the keyboard. Another reason why we might use slash chords is because we simply just like the sound. When you've got a C in first inversion, it's not as strong as a C in root position. It has a little bit more of a vulnerable sound. And this is C in the second inversion, C/G. And you can hear it's not quite as settled as a chord in its root position. So it gives us this very particular kind of a sound. You find this sound in gospel music sometimes. It's a really cool sound. It combines kind of a vulnerability in a chord progression, and it makes it just a little bit less settled and stable. And that unstable sound, it's just a really cool feel. So let me play this for you, kind of a gospel-y chord progression here. All right, now I'm not saying that all gospel music uses lots of slash chords, but I'm saying that it is common in gospel music to use some inversion, some slash chords, and it just has a really cool sound. Another type of music that incorporates slash chords is patriotic music. So here is C over G going to F over A. Now in this case, you can see that the common tone is in the middle. They won't always have a common tone, but they might be kind of close to each other. It gives it a smooth sound, even if they don't have a common tone. To kind of keep it around the same place and not have to jump around. So here's Glory Hallelujah. Etc. So it's got kind of a cool sound again, kind of a patriotic sound. So there's many, many reasons why people might be using slash chords. This is just a couple of genres of music that use slash chords in a really effective way to create this kind of vulnerable sound, or this just kind of unsettled, unstable sound to create a particular effect. So I hope you have some fun. Try some slash chords on your own, and I'm going to post a couple of chord progressions for you that include some common tones for you to practice, just so you can see how they work together. Okay, hope you enjoy it. And in my next post, we're going to be talking about 6th chords and 7th chords and how to find them. So stay posted. Hope you are subscribed to my upperhandspiano.com/blog, and you will get this post in your email box next month. Okay, thanks so much. Bye.